Hi, Ron LeGrand here. Before we get started with the podcast, I thought you might want to know that I recently recorded a 90-minute online training about how we make so much money today in the terms business. That's on pretty houses in pretty neighborhoods, not the junk houses that we have to go rehab or wholesale. I go through step by step on exactly what I and thousands of my students are doing right now to make the fastest and the easiest money in real estate without using your money or credit. If you're interested in doing just that, go to thementorpodcast.com/free training. See you there.
Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Mentor Podcast. I have a very special guest today that I think you're going to want to hear from if you're actually looking for deals. I have Benson Juarez here with me, and he's got a very special software that he created to not only help you find deals, but also help you analyze them as well. And it has many other uses of which we're going to talk about. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Ron. It's good to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, I'd like for you to tell everybody who you are and what you do before we get into the software and how it came about.
Definitely. Name is Benson Juarez. I've been in the business now for 20 plus years. I started out many years ago. I was actually active duty Air Force after 9/11, and I was doing some real estate studying, reading some books, and listening to some CDs while I was on post. And I got bit by the real estate bug, and I've been kind of just building my career ever since. Started doing some fix and flips.
Wait a minute now, guy. Certainly you looked at some of my videos while you were doing that, right?
I sure did.
So yes. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. All right. So you got into real estate because you're looking for something to do, right?
Yeah. Well, in those scenarios, I was working like some weird hours, working nights, 2 or 3 days off in the middle of the week. Right. It was military police and had some kind of odd hours, and always been kind of an entrepreneur, right? Needed something to keep my mind going. And so I started a side hustle. Right. So I started actually slinging loans for a mortgage company. And so I was doing loans. Yeah, it's a great way to earn money, and it doesn't require you to be at an office full time. I need that flexibility. And so me being hungry, I started to do hard money loans as well. And many of my clients were making a lot more money than me doing fix and flips. And so I was like, well, listen, I need to get into this game. And so that's how it started for me. I got licensed as an agent, started doing some wholesale, buying some rental properties. And, about 10 years ago, I met my business partner, Scott Fall, in an REO office. We were selling properties for banks. And that's when the idea was conceived of, where we could basically automate the process of finding and analyzing deals. My business partner, Scott, he's more the brainchild of the business, right? He's actually the visionary of a lot of what we do. I'm more of the integrator and the grinder. But we've moved the business forward for many years, and now we're nationwide. It's nationwide software access, helping people all over the country now, even people all over the world.
So you started out in the real estate business, starting out rehabbing houses, and do you still do that?
I do. Yeah, it's back into the business. I took a hiatus. I took a little bit of an ego hit down in the late 2000s, like many people did. It didn't do too well coming out of that, the downturn in the market, like many people.
Well, you and I will swap stories on that one day, but not right now.
I definitely will. It's ups and downs of the business, right? You get back in and you dust yourself off and you keep moving on.
So you still rehabbing houses today?
Back in the business, right? So I recently I live in Denver, Colorado, and so I recently started looking at some different markets, and that's one of the benefits of our software is you can really get local market education and local market intelligence from the data. So it's like you're in a specific market. So I'm doing stuff in St. Louis right now. St. Louis has a lot of investor activity, lots of good data there. And so I have built a small team out there of eyes and ears, people who help me find properties. And
Right.
I'm doing the majority of the work with Privy, which is the most exciting part.
So it really doesn't make any difference where you live, doing properties elsewhere, like a lot of my students are doing today, all over
Yes,
the country.
sir.
All right, so let's get into this software. All right, I'm a real estate investor like you. Tell me what it'll do for me and why I should have it. And then at the end, we'll kind of give away something so where they can go and explore it more if they want to.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that I believe that most investors invest based off of convenience or what's familiar, what's comfortable, right? And normally that ends up being their own backyard. And most people get in and they get thrown into the business, and the first thing they start doing is lead generation, right? Let's generate leads. Let's, scripts and phone calls and, Facebook ads. And they don't learn the real estate side of the business early on. It's mostly an afterthought. How do you run comps? What does a deal look like? Where are the hot markets? And so I think there's a kind of a big chasm between the type of education that's already out there in the courses and what you teach. It's all really valuable information, but then they get a deal and they don't know what to do with it. Like, how do I determine the value? Where's the exit strategy here? And so with our data and our technology, we're actually able to show them, like, here's what a deal looks like in Dallas. Here's what a deal is in Philadelphia versus Atlanta. And that kind of education doesn't really exist outside of a platform like ours.
All right. So wait a minute. I'm making a list here because I don't know what Privy does either. You and I just met. All right. We're part of the same mastermind group, but we just met. So I'm looking at it from the point of view that all of our onlookers are looking at it. So I'll make a list of what Privy will do for me. All right.
Okay.
So what would be at the top of that list?
Well, first thing is local market education. We teach you what a deal is in a specific market by just the simple use of the software.
I don't understand what that means. Educating me on what exactly?
Well, market activity. So we're tracking all of the deals that are being done in a particular market with the data. So we pull in data from multiple sources. You're not giving me education on real estate. You're giving me education on the location that I might want to do real estate on, right? Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
So it's real estate data.
Okay. And give me some samples of that data.
So for example, I could run a quick search in the software and I'll say, show me every fix and flip that closed in the last 12 months. So we plot on a heat map, specifically which markets are hotter than others.
All right.
I can say, St. Louis or Indianapolis is the hot market because there was, 3,000 flips that happened there in the last 12 months.
Got it.
And it's all visual, right? It's not a graph with some line going up and to the right that is unuseful, right? It's all actionable.
So what would I? So I see a lot of action. Does that mean I should go there or not go there, in your opinion?
There's a double-edged sword, right? And many of the strategies that we use,
there always is.
After repair value is kind of the driving force of, is it a deal or is it not a deal? What percentage of the after repair value can you get the deal at? The lower the percentage of the ARV, the better the deal.
Yeah.
Well, you literally cannot prove ARV if you don't have any comparables that are renovated, right? So there's this idea of what are called comps, right? I think comps almost means two things in my mind. There's comps meaning comparable sales, and there's comps meaning competition. You can't avoid competition without having comps.
So you're telling me this thing also pulls good comps?
It does. Yep.
All
so
right.
we've got
I'm writing it down. The comps.
MLS data.
And they're coming from just the MLS?
No, we've got direct to MLS data, public record data, county record data. We pull from all sources.
I got it. So, all right. So this thing pulls comps. But again, if I see a lot of flipping going on, or if I see a little flipping going on, which one would attract you the most?
Personally, I like more activity. I'd rather fix many of the problems that are caused by not having enough comps than fixing a problem of having too much competition. I want to be where my comps are at because it makes it easier for me to prove value. And also in many scenarios, like in a wholesale situation, I don't want to fight with the end buyer about value. If I've got 4 renovated comparables for my particular property, it sells itself.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
in this market today, Benson. I certainly wouldn't fight with anybody trying to wholesale a house to them. They're going to pay what I want. I'm wholesaling one right now, and I got about 10, 12, 15 people that made an offer on it. I'm just waiting for the highest bidder.
It's true.
They're not going to get me to go down. I'm going to wait till I get one. But as this market, okay, this market's not going to last forever, as we know.
It's true.
All right. And so you're right. It is a double-edged sword. Could I make the case that if there's not a lot of flipping going on, then that would be easier to find deals there? Frankly, it doesn't make any difference because there's deals everywhere, to be honest with you. And you mentioned earlier, everybody wants to start in their backyard. And I agree with that. I want them to stay in their backyard, because if they can't do a deal in their backyard, they're not going to do one in St. Louis or somewhere else either. So, all right.
There's some truth to that. There is. I would actually disagree a little bit, Ron. And this is just kind of a data, hat that I'm wearing, is that, if you lived in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, there's nobody doing any fix and flips out there. All right. Based off the data. And so a newbie who goes in there, who's trying to make the numbers work, is trying to determine value, is going to have a really hard time, because they're going to have to use unrenovated comparables to try to figure out the ARV, and they get lost in that. So this is actually really valuable for newbies too, because you can say, if you use our strategy, which we actually have a patent pending on it, it's called the reverse REI strategy, where you begin with the end in mind. You think many steps down the line about, is this house going to appraise? Right? As a property, if I find a house in go ahead.
You're absolutely right. It all starts with the R. There's no doubt about that. But for the sake of time, let's get going, because we got a lot of more things we got to list here. What else does this thing do for me?
Well, we got a local market intelligence. We've got comps. We've got lead generation. So we have the ability to go and generate lists of, say, foreclosures or absentee owners or vacancies. That kind of data is kind of been democratized, right? There's 1,000 companies that have that same information. We've got it as well. Now, the cool thing about how we serve that data is that we also are analyzing all of those properties. So when a list is generated of foreclosures, they'll come out pre-comped in a comparative market analysis that adjusts live based off of the current comparables. So you can pull a list, but that list says, hey, here's what the property's worth, because here's the fix and flips that sold in the area.
All right. Got it. What else?
We also have the ability to see the details of all the transactions. So when I talked about that heat map before, you find the hot area, but when you drill down visually into the area, it shows all the individual transactions that comprise that original heat map. So then I can see the last 10 or 20 deals that closed. I can see what they bought it for, what they sold it for, their gross margins, the percentage of ARV they bought it at. I can see before and after pictures side by side. So I can see what drives value.
You're kidding. You can see before and after pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool right there.
Yeah, people love that feature, right? It's the same part of our brain that loves watching those fix and flip shows, because we want to see the transformation, right? And these are real deals in your target market. And that's part of the education, is seeing, people are actually doing this, right? Like, so a lot of people don't know that there's...
I can start with the R, and then I can see what they paid. Then I can see what they can I see what they spent on repairs? Probably not.
No, that's on their own books, right?
But I can see what they sold it for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what else what else would be of value to me that I want to look up in this section of your software? Well,
you could see who it was. So you don't just see the property. You say, Dog Homes LLC is the flipper on this property, right? So Dog Homes is a buyer, right? If I'm trying to build a buyer's list, I want active buyers who are doing stuff today, right? Not somebody who was doing stuff before COVID. And so I know that Dog Homes is doing it, but here's the other cool thing, Ron, is that part of this local market intelligence is understanding the buy box of those buyers. So I know that Dog Homes is doing deals. I know they have the ability to execute. I know a kind of property that fits their profile because I'm looking at it. I know that 1234 Main Street fits their buying box because, we're looking right at it. And so when you open up that conversation with that Dog Homes flipper, you're talking about the house they just closed. Hey, Mr. Johnson, I saw you just closed 1234 Main Street. That's amazing. I'm an investor in the area, and I'm also finding deals, and curious, are you only looking at properties in 76502? Only, 3-bedroom, 2 baths like the one on Main Street? Tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for.
Okay. So I assume it'll also give me the details about the house, the square footage, the bedrooms and baths and so forth.
Yep. So
Okay.
the property profile.
Okay. What else will it software do for me?
That information about Dog Homes is in our public record section. So you've got all of the other information having to do with the house. You've got mortgage information, deed data, transaction history. So you're building it up, your information about that house. If it's in a distress situation, like a foreclosure or absentee owner, we tag these things so you can see what the motivation is for any particular home. Now, that's more applicable if you're looking at, off-market leads. You're able to kind of stack lists and say, okay, show me a house that's vacant and is an absentee owner, and they bought 20 years ago.
So it'll show. Can I get a list of vacant houses from this software?
You can.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty good too. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yeah, we'll get you set up with an account, Ron, and I'll teach you how to use it.
Okay, you will teach my team how to use it.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Well, then if I had a list of vacants, but they're vacant, so I don't know the owner's address. I don't know how to reach the owner. Can you help there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we pull owner information in. So if it's a vacant house and it's an owner occupant, well, the address is the same as the subject property. If it's an absentee owner, we've got the mailing address of the absentee owner as well,
cool.
Which could be used to do like a skip trace.
Yeah. Well, frankly, I just mail them a letter, period. I have their address and I know the house is vacant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to, so I might want to get a skip trace to get telephone numbers. Is that what you're saying?
Telephone numbers, email addresses, next of kin.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a gold mine right there, Benson. If they were to just work that list alone, I know from experience that out-of-town owners are always a good list. If they're vacant, it's even a better list. So if we can get all our information, that means we can follow up. And for all of you listening, you'll get more deals out of the follow-up than you will the first contact. So that's how important it is that you do get their email and their phone. So that means I would email them and I would text them and continue doing it for months in the future, unless they told me, no, I've sold it or it's listed or whatever. And that is true whether I can reach them or not. I mean, actually, that's what I'm trying to do is reach them. But if I do any of these things and they respond, I've got a really qualified seller. So that's worth its weight in gold right there, sir.
Okay. It is. Here's one of the interesting things that we learned by looking at the data, Ron, is that, the majority of us focus on off-market leads, right? Because that's where the deals are at, right? And this is what
in my terms world, we have to,
Mm-hmm. What the data told us is that the majority of the properties, remember I told you those fix and flips, majority of those were actually coming from the MLS on market. In some markets, it's between 60 and 70%. And so I do think that a lot of people are ignoring one of the major deal sources coming from the MLS, because
including me. Yeah. I mean,
it's because they don't
teach. I've been teaching everybody, you're going to get deals out of the MLS. So tell me how you're going to get deals out of the MLS. And that would be very interesting to me and all of my folks, because it's just a waste of time, basically. There was a time where I sat there and that's all I did pretty much was get deals out of the MLS. But that time started passing around 2017. So we're in a world of FSBOs now, what you call off market. All right.
Right.
So what can you do to help me get deals out of the MLS?
Yeah. So with our reverse REI strategy and putting your efforts in these areas where there's high investor activity, what it allows you to do is allows you to write higher offers, which allows you to get closer to the asking price of a home that is on the MLS and has a higher chance of being accepted. Now, we're not just going after any home. We're looking at homes that are at a discount, a deep discount from the percentage of the after repair value. Now, through normal means where you had to go in and comp out 1,000 properties to find 10 that make sense, the algorithm does that work for you. So our algorithm is actually comping out every single property in the US, and it's looking for margins based off of your specific deal criteria. So if I was researching, say, St. Louis, and I know that Dog Homes just bought a house at 60% of the ARV, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I know what a deal is in St. Louis, and now I know what a deal is for dog homes. So if I can run an algorithm that says, show me everything that's in St. Louis at 55% of the ARV, knowing that dog homes will buy something at 60, the algorithm finds it, pulls that needle out of the haystack, builds that comparative market analysis, and then it emails me, says, hey, Benson, here's a property the dog homes would like, because we know what they already bought, right? So we model the closed deals that are in a market, and then I build a strategy around what I know they're willing to buy, and then I have the algorithm and the software look for it.
And then what do you do when you find them?
So once I find them, I lock them up. So you write an offer, get it under contract, make sure it's assignable or transferable, and then you start marketing it like you would a normal deal.
So you write an offer, but you want to probably go see pictures of the houses and what it looks like it would take in repairs from the photos. Is that you do that?
Sometimes, right? So I've got eyes and ears on the ground, right? So I've got an agent who I found using our software, because with every closed fix and flip that we have in our system, we also know who the investor focused agents are. So I'm able to work with people that I know understand, my problems, right? Not just somebody who's, driving people around looking for, condos for a young family, right? These are investor focused people. So my agent, her name is Nika. She's amazing. She goes and she looks at the property for me. She takes pictures. She takes photos. She tells me if she sees anything that's a miss, sends it to me, and then I know if I have to adjust my offer.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, Ron, I can go in at asking price and still be at 30, 40% of the after repair value from the MLS, and the system finds them automatically.
Well, that's worth its weight in gold right there. You might get me back to working in the MLS.
Well, teach your team how to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. So I can go into any city and pull up the properties with the big spreads is basically all I'm trying to do.
And you define it, right? We've got the little slider, percentage of ARV.
I can go online and look at the photos of the house, make an offer from my desk, honestly, which is the way I did it for a lot of years. And then only went out and looked at the house after the offer got accepted.
Yep.
And I remember one year I made 151 offers sitting on my butt. And I bought 12 houses that year, but I actually got 16 under contract. Went out and looked at 4 of them and told the realtor immediately, I forget this one. I'm not buying this one for whatever reason. And all I did was sit there and look at the pictures online. So where would you go to find the photos of the property?
It's in our system. So we've got the photos as well.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. So when I mentioned earlier, we've got direct to MLS data. So we're the only platform in the country that actually has direct to MLS data contracts. It's the same data that agents and appraisers use. So we have to go and negotiate that. And that comes with the photos and the rich information, the property updates, status changes, price drops, everything.
So I can sit here on my butt and just pick an area, pick a city, and do the search, looking for the ones with the big spreads, find them, and then go look at the photos and see what kind of shape they're in. And any trained investor can sit here and look at the photos and pretty much tell what the repair costs are on the house. Of course, it's never right. It's always wrong, but it's close enough to make an offer on it when you're making offers like we do. Because for all you new listeners, the safety factor is not in your repair bid, it's in your offer. If you offer the right price, your repairs can be way off. You can still make a lot of money, and that's assuming you're even going to rehab it. In fact, what you just described, Benson, is what most of the big wholesalers do in this country anyway. They just go find them online, put them under contract, and flip them online without even touching them. Some of them don't even send anybody to the house. They simply tie them up, and if they don't sell, they don't sell. Some of them, most of them actually do have boots on the ground. They work a particular city at a time. I mean, you and I know we hang around people who do 150, 250 wholesale deals a year, if that's what they want to do. I'm not a wholesaler, but there's nothing wrong with sitting on my butt and getting nice sized checks for doing nothing but working data, because that's really all we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even buy houses at wholesalers. We just put them under contract. So it's truly a home-based business, and you got it all in one system. All right. What else? Anything else that we need to discuss before we tell people how they can get at this thing?
Yeah. Well, the tool is designed to actually help you identify deals. However, it's an analyzation tool too. So if you've got your own properties that you're working, you know, wherever you find them, If you want to analyze, run comps on a property, just type it into our system. Our system will build a comparative market analysis, pull comps on it, real-time comparables, so you can determine the value. Does it make any sense? So all of your other lead gen opportunities are useful with our system too, because you can analyze it. You can analyze multiple properties at once. Let's say you generated a list of, say, probates from an attorney friend. Well, you upload it into Privy. Privy will pull comps on 1,000 properties all at once, generate a report, and kick it right back out to you.
All right. Well, what are you going to give our listeners here today? I understand you got something to give away. What's it going to be?
I do. Yeah. So one of the things we love is for people just to try the system. Once they try it, they love it. And many people are like, well, I don't want to put a bunch of money up front. So we're going to put together a $1 for 7-day trial. You can try Privy for 7 days for $1. It likely will pay back multiple times because of the deals that we find. I did a session last night. I did these live deal finding sessions, Ron, where I jump online and I just find deals live. I found 4 properties last night. They were anywhere from 40 to 50% of the ARV, and I just gave them away. Many people are actually writing offers on those today that aren't even Privy users. But what I do that for is to demonstrate how the system works and that it actually will find deals. So during the 7 days, they'll find stuff they can write offers on. I'm also going to invite them to my live training. So I'm going to teach them exactly how to use it live. We're going to show them how to set the filters, how to go in and actually create automated alerts. Because most people, Ron, aren't doing this full time, right? They got their 9 to 5, they got their family, they're hacking it, right? We're all entrepreneurs, so they're nights and weekends.
Yeah. I teach them if they're working full time, they're wasting their time anyway. It's a full-time income with a part-time business.
It's true.
It truly is. So your 7-day trial for $1, okay. But during that time, are they going to go to this live training you're discussing?
Yeah, so I'll have an invitation where they can come to the live training.
Live meaning online in your case.
Live meaning online, Zoom.
In my world, live means butts and seats in hotel rooms.
We come from a different era, right?
Yeah, I guess so. All right. So they're going to get the training they need during the 7 days, and they get to play with it for 7 days for $1 if they don't like it. And all that information is where? I'll tell you where. It's at thementorpodcast.com/Privy, Privy, right?
That is correct.
Okay. thementorpodcast.com/Privy. Go there and get the $1 offer and check this thing out, because I've not seen anything like this. And this is one of the biggest problems that investors find is, how do I find quality deals? Well, this is the answer right here. This will help you find the quality leads, and especially those that are calling you. When I contact all the sellers and they call me, that's 10 times better than me chasing them because they're listed on the internet somewhere. So I'm always interested in something that'll get me to the quality leads. And it looks like this is going to be worth a lot of money. So I definitely want it myself. So
you got it. Right. I'm happy to do that for you.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners before we get off of this thing?
Yeah, I would just say that it's okay to change your paradigm. There's lots of great education out there. There's a lot of really good mentors and coaches, just like Ron. But if you have an open mind to what's possible, you can definitely find more opportunities. A lot of people have this block in their mind about on-market deals. Can you find deals on the MLS? 100% you can. We're finding them every day. The system shows them to you, right? I don't have to convince you of it, because we show you where they're buying them from. We show you what they're buying them for, what they're selling them for, how much money they're making. So you can get that local market education, and you can do stuff virtually. Yes, it's going to be easier in your own backyard because you can get your own eyes and ears and boots on the ground. But if you do live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or Casper, Wyoming, or Scotts Bluff, Nebraska, it's going to be hard to get deals done.
I'm not living in any of those places. It's too darn cold up there, man.
I didn't mention any Waco, Texas. There we go. There's another
there you go. All
small right. town that's warm for you, Ron.
Yeah, I got you.
You can do deals in other markets, right? And I'm going to show you guys how to do it. It is not as difficult as a lot of people make it out to seem. It's about being a little bit more uncomfortable. Can you get out of your own comfort zone and think about other ways of doing deals? And I can help you do that.
And it's all about getting into the world of virtual, because so many people are doing just exactly that. You got the whole country to work. You don't even have not confined. Some people say, well, it won't work here. Well, it will, but maybe you should move. And it'll probably won't work where you live either, because the problem is you. It's not the business. There's deals every city there is in this country. And people always need to sell and others always need to buy, and nothing outside of our control going on in Washington is going to change that. People always have to have a place to live. I've been at this for 40 years now, and I wished I had tools like this when I was growing up. We had to do it. Do you remember when we had an MLS book about like that?
Oh, I do.
That's the only place we get things out of the MLS. Sit here, go through these pages, go out and look at the houses, and then contact the realtor physically to make an offer. Gee whiz, I don't know how we got through it. But
yeah, remember when we used to shake hands with people and meet at a coffee shop and do deals?
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, if you want to get into we got a great offer there in front of you, folks. One more time, thementorpodcast.com/Privy. And if you're watching this and you're not on Planet Ron, you go to ronlegrand.com/terms, and you can see about an hour and something seminar on how I buy and sell houses, pretty houses in pretty neighborhoods, buy on terms, sell on terms, and don't have to do the rehabs and such. I teach it all, I do it all, and frankly, this will help me find sellers in all kinds of markets and in whether it be pretty or ugly. So, Benson, thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us. And I'm sure our folks will be contacting you shortly through that to take you up on that dollar offer. And I'd like to know just how many of them did, so we can find out if they're listening or not. All right.
Thank you, Ron. It's been great spending time with you. I appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you maybe at the next mastermind. Are you going to be out there in September?
I will absolutely be there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. See you there.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.